people trickle in, I'm sure. But thank you to Greg Daly for being with us today. For those who are voting here in Moscow, there'll be something on your ballot, if you haven't already voted, that Greg wants to talk to us about. Greg has been the current superintendent of Moscow School District 281 for the past 5 years, and it is his alma mater. He's served as an educator for 32 years, 26 of which were in educational leadership. He received his PhD from Northwest Nazarene, a master's from University of Nevada, Reno, and education specialist and bachelor's degrees from University of Idaho. Greg continues to be a strong advocate for kids and Idaho public education, as well as a strong supporter for purposeful educational transformation. Greg today is discussing with us the proposed increase to Moscow School District's indefinite supplemental levy, which will be on the November 6th ballot for all patrons of the Moscow School District to consider. He'll discuss the impacts that this increase would have on the school district and answer any questions that we might have regarding this proposal. So thank you, Greg, for being here.
Well, thank you for coming and taking the time to listen and get informed about this increase to our indefinite levy. I do have Jen Johnson, our business manager, here too, that she, is my right-hand person and can answer some questions that I can't, so, but she's here. I kind of laugh about, when they talk about all the schooling I've had and everything else like that. I still remember the day I was in a second grade classroom and I was telling a student about how many years I had been in school, it was like 26 years or so. This little girl just went down. Can't you read? It was pretty funny. So the curriculum director at the time was just laughing her head off at that moment. But I'm glad to be back in Moscow School District, and it's been perfect. I kind of feel like a boomerang because I only lived about 2 blocks from where I grew up, so it's kind of came around and that. But today, we want to talk about the indefinite levy increase to that. We're asking 1.9 million to increase as an increase. That is 1.9 increase from our budget of $27.5 million budget. But it is, I believe, right now, the amount that is being paid by our local taxpayers is $9.5 million, and so that would move it up to $11.4 million. The last time we asked was 7 years ago. We are excited that we were able to stretch it out 7 years. That matches the other longest time that we were able to stretch it out since 1992. I think there's been 5 times that we have had to come back to the taxpayers and ask for an increase of this indefinite supplemental levy. And typically it's due to either reductions by the State Department of our funding from the state level, or like what it is this situation, it's really due to inflation, the costs, the amount of money is just not going as far as it used to. We also increased to an all-days kindergarten, which has been exceptional. We've been really proud of what we're seeing results with our students. Now, kindergarten is still not required in the state of Idaho, but it is very helpful for our students to have that all-day kindergarten for the sake of we're asking these kids to have a lot more information. I mean, what we're having to teach these kids is a lot more than I know when I was in school. Typically, we have almost gotten to the point from the days when I was in school, what we were learning in 2nd grade is now in kindergarten. And we have moved up even more. And one of the things why we went with that all-day kindergarten is not just to, and I hate to use this, but cram more information in the student, but to go at a better pace, a slower pace, so that the kids feel comfortable and not feel overwhelmed. So we were really looking at that. We wanted to make them feel comfortable and maybe go in more depth of the knowledge. So that was one of the things. We just hired an additional SRO officer. We worked with the city of Moscow to do that. You know, due to the safety issues that all schools are dealing with, we felt like this would cover and take care of our schools better than what we had prior to that. We currently have one SRO officer, so now we have two. One will be stationed at Moscow High School, one will be stationed at Moscow Middle School, and then they will go and be dispersed out into all the elementary schools as needed. The thing that we are looking for from these officers is not to be, you know, packing and just walking the halls and being the, you know, hard-nosed. We want them to build relationships with our students. That is our purpose, is not to be there to catch the kids, but be there to build that relationship so that they feel comfortable with the police force and as well as help us out. So the other things that we're looking at, what we've had to do is we've added more additional paraprofessionals in our schools due to we have more kids with mental health issues that are coming into our schools at the time. We have increased our salaries and benefits. You know, we're competing against all these other schools around us, and as you know, we have Washington right next door that just increased theirs 10 to 15%. We're not going to be able to match that. We're not going to be able to. We had to be somewhat competitive there because right now the pipeline for teachers, if you haven't heard, is drying up. I mean, it is a lot harder to hire teachers than it was 10, 15 years ago. You know, I used to, if I had an elementary position, I could have 20 to 30 applicants. We get now about 4 or 5 applicants. Secondary, we're lucky on sometimes we get 1 applicant. So that is definitely a concern of ours. It's a national concern right now. Other things is this helps us continue with our extracurricular activities, you know, the drama classes, music that we have, you know, the pep band, as well as all the sports programs. I call them co-curricular because I see how those programs help bring kids into our school, how it keeps kids wanting to do well in school because they have requirements to meet to be eligible. So we like to keep our students active. We also have almost, I think my document said we had 32 clubs or 30 clubs. We have 42 my last count. I mean, it's about every club you can think of, we've got it. I'm still trying to convince them that they need a fly fishing club so that I can be their supervisor. You know, the other things is, I would say that the state has recently started to increase how much they're dispersing, but very minimal. But now I will tell you, recently, I just found out, you probably have heard that they're talking about a new funding formula for school districts. And I'll tell you right now, the one that they just put out is going to cost us, we'll go negative 1.2 million. They are, I would say, every medium to large school district has taken a huge hit. And most of the funding, and we looked at where it's going to a lot of charter schools throughout this state. So 1.2 million, that's very painful for us. And so, but it's not set yet. They have a committee that's working on it. We've been kind of fighting with them on that. We would like to see them have the career ladder, you know, the payment of staffing out of that formula, so it's separate. And that would reduce the harm to a lot of the school districts. The last time they did funding formula change was back in about 1990. And one of the nice things about it was they held everyone harmless. And they had a process that continued to hold people harmless. It just, but this time they're talking about maybe holding people harmless for 3 years. Well, that's just 3 years. That doesn't take care of us for a long term. method. So we'll be working pretty heavily to work with our legislators on either approving a better plan or helping them vote it down, to be honest with you. Just because we don't want to get hit that hard. Some of the things, you know, if we look at it, this is amount of money, and we use this as an example, and since, you know, you can make adjustments to your house cost. If you had a $200,000 house and had a $100,000 home exemption, so you have $100,000 taxable net, this would increase your taxes for the year $28 in some sense. So $2 and I think 79 cents or something a month. So, but it's an increase, I understand that. It is a situation, you know, we are, what else can I tell you? If you have questions during this please raise your hand too, and I'll call on you. Yes.
So before you get onto this next train, the one about the funding, is there a way for us, for you to be able to then communicate to the public that, hey, this is a concern, if we should call our representatives?
Yes, yeah,
so-
as we get going into this and it gets to be in the time of the legislative session, then I would be happy to do that by working with newspapers and send a notice out to people.
So did this funding formula originate from the Department of Ed or from the
Legislative committee, it's a legislative committee. What they want the money to do is follow the students, you know, not look at, it would be the enrollment numbers versus average daily attendance. So you're enrolled, you get the funds. If the kid moves, then you might, yeah, always try. But it changes to that. One of the reasons why they want to do that rather than average daily attendance is for the sake of, you know, there's a lot of changes in education, and we understand why they want to tweak it a little bit, and I'm good with a little tweaking, just not as far as they want to go, because schools are changing where it's not just seat time, because there's so many different ways of educating our kids today, of not always being right there in the chair, as well as meeting different needs of the students, you know, having times where, you know, they do their lessons at night by going online and listening to the teacher present the lessons, so that when they come into the school, they can actually sit down with the teacher and the teacher's helping them with the homework. So it's kind of a flip-flop of what we traditionally have done. You know, doing projects outside of the school, so there's a lot of ability to kind of change up how you do your instruction, which we're kind of looking at. Okay.
Once this bill hits the legislature, is there a possibility that it could be amended or changed?
Oh yeah, always, always, and you know, it's going to be a hard one for them to pass if so many school districts are going to get hit, because I wouldn't think there's many local legislators that would say, ooh, I'm going to vote for this even though it's going to hurt my school district, because I would think they would probably have an earful from many of their